Welcome. In today's deep dive, we are taking a close look at the new leadership duo at the helm of S&P Global, the new CEO and the new chairman.
Welcome back to the channel. Today, we'll continue our S&P Global's deep dive series. This time, we'll take an in-depth look into the company's CEO and chairman. Now, from an analyst perspective, leadership changes like this are absolutely critical. They're a huge signal about the board's strategy for the future. And, understanding the people in these top jobs is really key to understanding where the company is headed. So today, we're going to break it all down: who they are, what they've done, and what this specific leadership combo means for one of the most important financial firms in the world.
All right, before we really get into it, just the usual quick disclaimer. This analysis is for informational purposes only. It is absolutely not investment advice. All the info we're using is from publicly available sources. So with that out of the way, let's dive in.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First up, we'll set the stage and talk about the leadership transition itself. Then, we're going to do a deep dive on the new CEO, Martina Cheung. We're calling her the evolution architect. After that, we'll pivot to the new chairman, Lord Livingston, who we see as the experienced steward. And finally, we'll bring it all together and show you why we think this pairing creates a really smart, de-risked leadership team.
So let's start with the big picture: S&P Global's leadership transition. Whenever a company of this size and importance changes its top leadership, it's a huge deal. It sends a message to the market, to employees, to everyone. But the key thing to understand here is that this wasn't some sudden, reactive move. No, not at all. This was a meticulously planned succession, a strategy that the board has likely been working on for years. They've done something really classic here. They've promoted a long-term insider to CEO and brought in a seasoned outsider as chairman. What that does is it gives you the best of both worlds: continuity and fresh oversight. It's a very, very smart playbook. So now let's meet the players, starting with the new CEO.
All right, let's zoom in on Martina Cheung, the new president and CEO. We're calling her the evolution architect, and there's a good reason for that. Her whole approach isn't about some radical revolution. It's about intelligently evolving the company's massive strengths to dominate the next phase of growth.
And if you really want to get what makes her tick, you just need to hear this one quote of hers: "Collect experiences, not promotions." I know, it might sound like a nice little soundbite, but for her, this is the real deal. Her entire career has basically been the living embodiment of this exact philosophy.
Just look at her path to the top. This is that philosophy in action. She didn't just pick one ladder and climb it. Instead, she systematically moved across the company, mastering its most critical functions: operations, strategy, building new businesses, and then running the two biggest divisions. This journey forged what we call an enterprise mindset. It's a deep, holistic view of the entire machine that very few executives ever get.
So, she's got the experience, but what about the results? Well, the numbers don't lie. As president of S&P Global Ratings, she drove that division to $3.3 billion in revenue in just 1 year. And get this, she did it while maintaining a massive 56.5% operating profit margin. These aren't small numbers. This is the company's flagship business firing on all cylinders under her command.
And she's no one-trick pony. This performance has been consistent everywhere she's gone. While getting solid 9% growth from the massive ratings division, she also oversaw Sustainable One, which grew an incredible 24%. And if you look back at her time building the risk services business, a solid 9% compound annual growth rate. The takeaway here is simple: she has proven she can drive growth across totally different business models.
Okay, so what's her game plan now that she's in the top job? Her blueprint is crystal clear. First, keep expanding the core benchmark franchise. Second, go hard after the private markets, a sector that's just exploding in size. Third, get ahead of the curve on generative AI by launching a new enterprise data office. And fourth, stay disciplined with the portfolio. And she's not just talking either. Her first big move was spinning off the mobility division, which is a massive signal that she is laser-focused on the company's core financial clients.
Okay, so that's the architect. Now let's turn to the other half of this power duo, the new chairman, Lord Livingston. If Cheung is the insider architect, you can think of Livingston as the experienced external steward, bringing a totally different but equally critical skill set to the boardroom.
Lord Livingston's career is fascinating. You could almost break it into 3 separate lives. First, he was the financial prodigy. Becoming the youngest CFO in the FTSE 100 at just 32 years old is just incredible. Then, he became the turnaround CEO, taking the helm of the massive BT Group right in the middle of the 2008 financial crisis. And after all that, he went into public service. Each one of these lives gave him a totally unique perspective.
And his time as CEO of BT is a masterclass in creating value under extreme pressure.
Picture it. He takes over in 2008. The company's in crisis. Its stock is in freefall. He immediately brings in tough financial discipline, but, and this is the brilliant part, at the same time he makes a massive bet on the future, pouring capital into a nationwide fiber broadband network. He didn't just survive the crisis, he completely transformed the company for the future.
And once again, let's look at the hard numbers. From the stock's absolute lowest point in 2009 until he left, the share price nearly quadrupled. He tripled the company's free cash flow. This isn't just theory. This is a proven track record of executing when the pressure is at its absolute highest.
On top of all that, Livingston has sat on the boards of all kinds of companies: finance, utilities, retail, you name it. Now, why is that so valuable for S&P Global? It's simple. Those companies are their clients. Having a chairman who intimately understands the challenges of, say, a big utility company or hedge fund, well, that gives the board a level of sophisticated oversight that is incredibly rare. He gets the world his company serves.
So we have our two profiles, the insider architect and the external steward. Now let's bring it all together and talk about why this particular combination is so powerful and why it effectively de-risks this whole transition for the company.
This slide really says it all. Their skills don't just overlap, they interlock perfectly. Cheung brings that deep 14-year insider knowledge and a vision for the future of data. Livingston provides the tough external oversight, the crisis-tested financial discipline, and a deep understanding of global politics. She's the engine for growth. He's the steady hand on the wheel, ensuring rigor and accountability. It's a fantastic balance.
Now, as an analyst, I always say, follow the money. You want to see that leadership is incentivized to think like a shareholder, and in this case, the alignment is just crystal clear. Over 90% of CEOs Cheung's compensation is at risk. That's just a fancy way of saying it's tied directly to the company's performance and its stock price. Put simply, she wins big only if the shareholders win big.
And the chairman's incentives are also locked in for the long haul. A big chunk of his pay comes in what are called phantom stock units. Now, the crucial part you need to know is that he can only convert these into actual company stock after he leaves the board. Think about that for a second. That structure literally forces him to focus on creating sustainable long-term value that will last well beyond his own tenure.
So this brings us right back to our core thesis. S&P Global's board has engineered a brilliantly de-risked transition. They've got strategic continuity with a proven insider who knows the business cold. And they've paired her with a world-class chairman who brings rigorous oversight and has been tested by fire. It's a combination that's really designed for both stability and high performance.
And that leaves us with the big, forward-looking question, doesn't it? When you combine an architect of evolution with an experienced, battle-tested steward, has S&P Global put together the perfect team to not just compete, but to actually define the entire future of financial intelligence? You have to say, all the pieces certainly seem to be in place.
All right, that wraps up our analysis of S&P Global's new leadership. And that's it for today's video. Let us know in the comments if you'd like other deep dives on new companies. Thanks for watching.